Eduardo, we're going to be tasting Syrah by itself.
One of your favorites.
One of my favorites. And then, of course, we'll be tasting it blended with others. So Syrah as a variety is sort of very, you can see this, it's very sort of deep in color. I love Syrah almost more for the nose sometimes than anything because has so much going on. It can be very peppery. Can have a lot of game note to it.
Animal feral.
Exactly, kind of a smokiness. You can get lavender. You can get kind of wild herbs and all sorts of just really intriguing things on the nose, which is not to say that I don't enjoy tasting it as well, but I can just get lost sometimes in the nose. So what we're using to showcase a single Syrah as a variety is the Domaine de la Ville Rouge Terre d'éclat. This is from Crozes Hermitage. So we're in the Northern Rhône. This is actually where Syrah is known for and is from, although it's blended and also very famous in the south, blended often with Grenache and Mourvedre. But here, this is single variety Syrah. So the Northern Rhône, as you know, is known for having very steep terraces. And that's because they get this very strong wind called the Mistral, which comes from the north. And it's so strong that if they had sort of trellised vineyards, where sort of things are up on wires and contained like that, it actually could almost blow the whole thing over. So instead of a trellis, they have these individually staked vines. So each little vine is almost like its own little tree. And that also allows it to not only kind of stay in the ground on these very steep slopes, but it keeps the Mistral from just blowing it over.
And the heat creating a little more rich, thick skins and more flavor and aroma.
It is, but then the Mistral cools it down. So you get that balance, right? Of Syrah can ripen here, but then you get this coolness through the vineyards as well. And so this is from Crozes Hermitage. So I think some of the most famous places maybe would be Côte-Rôtie in the north of the Northern Rhône, and then further south is the hill of Hermitage. But then surrounding Hermitage is what we call Crozes Hermitage. And I actually just learned this recently, that Crozes is actually the name for, if you're looking at a barrel, like a barrel of wine, the groove that the barrel head sits in. So it's the Crozes, it's surrounding Hermitage.
Interesting. Now that all makes sense.
Right.
Because of that.
Exactly. Yeah. So this family, they've been growing grapes, making wine since 1919. And they actually used to sell their grapes to Guigal and to Chapoutier, which, as you know, are two of the most famous wine growing wine producers in the region. But then they decided, hey, let's keep these grapes for ourselves. And now they're making their own wine.
I'm so glad they did. This is a delicious wine.
Me too.
As you mentioned, the nose, you can pull so many things out of that hat. But in the palate, there's so much depth and richness, and it's like this hairy-chested individual here.
I love it. Hairy-chested, really, but very sensitive. That's what I like about the Syrah, because you get this there is a sort of softer, lush note to it, but then it has a real sort of depth and muscular note to it. Really as beautiful. Well. And so this is 100% barrel aged. And I think you do get that also in the texture where tannins are obviously present, like my mouth is feeling sort of pleasantly dry, but there's also this kind of breadth, right, of palate, this palate shape that is a bit softened because of that time in barrel.
I'm seeing some southern style, maybe even Texas style to be precise, brisket.
Oh, I like it.
Smoked for hours and just sit with a bottle of this and call it a day. That's my gravitas immediately.
Is that what Grandma would make? Or?
Grandma would approve. She would leave it for the right person to make it. Okay. That was never her forte.
But her stamp of approval.
But she would certainly partake.
All right. Sounds great to me. All right, cheers.